Okay, welcome everyone to the third meeting of the SinguarityNet archive. Hopefully your screen share will appear. Can everyone see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, I'll just do an introduction. Welcome to meeting 3 of 21st of June. The SingularityNet archive contains a history of the activities of the SingularityNet Ambassador Program. Can you mute yourself, Andre?
Oh shit.
Okay. I'll restart that. Okay. Just a brief overview of what we do. The SingularityNet archive basically tracks the history of the activities of the SingularityNet Ambassador Program. And our goal is to provide a collaborative platform for the SingularityNet archive to share knowledge, ideas, and best practices. We welcome contributions from anyone interested in SingularityNet, whether it's a new project code example or documentation. And the best way probably to get in contact with us is through our Discord channel, which is Archive Workgroup. Okay, the previous meeting, there's a link there. I'll drop a link for this meeting issue, although everyone here knows, or probably already knows where this is, into chat, but I'll just do it for practice. That's a link to the meeting issue. And we have Andre, myself, Vanessa's now here, Miro's not here, and I'll put the other attendees from a screenshot later. Okay, so the meeting is divided into 2 parts, as usual. The first part will be me going for a GitHub project board to update on the separate tasks. And the second half of the meeting will be a practical session hosted or facilitated by Vanessa. And I'll dive straight into it. So working from the top, and these are ordered by tags, is the Ambassador's GitBook. Okay, I'll talk a bit about this, and then if other people can join in. What I've done with the Ambassador's GitBook, as there was no one working on it particularly, there's a link here. So what I did, I started raising issues for content, which are both here, and I did some work on adding, let's have a look at this. Yeah, so I did some, I took the first page, the landing page of the SingularityNet Ambassador Program, and did some tweaks to it to get started. And basically the idea is to think about what should be on the first page of the SingularityNet Ambassadors thing. And this is probably good to link into the welcome page on Discord. Okay. And the other one the other issue I raised against it was a section on describing the different work groups. There's another page, and all I've done is this, which is basically an overview, like a kind of placeholders for what could go there in the work groups, which is our work group section. And again, that would need to be completed by our team liaising with other work groups. Vanessa, you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry, I can't see you on my screen yet.
No, I'm here as a guest for some reason, so I'm not showing up. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were a ghost. So, but you're here. Good. Okay, so
yeah.
Did you hear what I kind of give an update on what we're doing on the Ambassador's GitBook? Do you have any idea about next steps?
Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I I think we said last time or 2 times ago that we'd talk to Sukran about this, so I think that should probably be a next step. And I think there's been some discussion in Discord with her about it, just a little comment or two. So if you like, I will undertake to contact her and just go, have you got any input or things that you think need to be done?
Okay, I'll speak to about further progress. Yeah, and I'll put that against you. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And as I say, I've done some initial work to get started. So there is something to base on. Okay, I'll update that comment. Okay. Any other questions about or suggestions about the ambassador's GitBook? These next
not
steps.
really question, but will be next week in Deaver PBL. We're also meeting up with Sukren, and if she likes the way Andamia platform kind of operates, I can help her to create this onboarding stuff also on Andamia. So as like an onboarding course in a sense. So yeah, mentioning it.
Liaison and onboarding course, which would fit into yeah. Okay. I'll okay. Next week, what work group is? Oh, that's a DWork PBL work group. Okay. Which you're hosting, like, isn't it? DWork, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that. That's good information. And we'll move on to get that updated. Okay, archive of an ambassador budget policy. I've got a response. Yeah, I say you responded to this, TiVo, saying that this will be created over the next few weeks, and you're going to start reasoning rules this week in Treasury Guild. Do you want to add anything to that, or is that?
I don't know. The thing goes as planned in process school. Tommy mentioned, and in town hall, also the continuation of discussion of the treasury budget. So once it kind of gets drafted, the goal is to further kind of like align on that on treasury group, gather more feedback, those who are able to join in that time zone, and then I guess maybe next in 2 weeks we'll have work group. I could perhaps bring it here and then like talk about requirements to how should it look like in the like a proper document, like how do we appendix it together.
2 weeks, do you say?
Yeah, so next Archival work group.
Then okay. Then
This week we probably will discuss it more, and next week I assume that it will continue to be discussed, but then we have like 4 meetings at least under the belt of like gathering information that has like collection of decisions and budget breakdowns.
Okay, I'll put that as a bullet point there. That's great. Okay, I'll just leave that, and we can come back to that when we're ready. Proposal for the archive work group. The reason why this is still open is because there was still budgetary questions. I mean, Tommy's not here. It's only okay. I was still not quite clear about where to go to see what the budget is, what payments have been made. When I look at my Euro wallet, there is, you're right, Felix, I did have received AGX payments, yeah. But the I'm not sure what they're for. And also, am I receiving AGX payments for the archive work group as well, which I should distribute to them?
Right now, I think you haven't created any requests to pull the Archival workgroup rewards. That's why.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Exactly. Actually, the only thing which you need to do, Steve, if you go into the DWork space on Treasury, for example.
Yeah. Oh, what
on the SingularityNet DWork, and you, I think, simply go on the Treasury space then there, and I think you have admin rights, right, on the DWork.
Possibly. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look. Hopefully my internet is fast enough. Okay. Okay, I'm in the. Where do I go now, Felix?
Treasury Guild, I would say.
Okay.
Actually, we can even set up our own space for this actually to collect this. But Tivo, are you agree right now just using Treasury Guild as space?
What do you think?
Treasury Guild is used for activity lists, but I think Archive Workgroup has their own DWork.
We do.
Ah, yeah, true.
We do.
Yeah.
And then all you have to do is then assign the AGX or dollar amount in the DWork task. Oh, I see. You have a lot of done stuff. So basically, all of the done work bring into review at the cost on the task.
No, Tivo. No, Tivo. No, we don't have to make it complicated like this.
Okay.
Steve, you simply say, what do you want for rewards for everything you do?
Yeah.
Like the main idea is the guild and workgroup leaders, they decide. We don't come to you, check and, hey, this has to be this, that has to be that. You simply create an invoice, create a new task, and simply say, for example, then rewards archival workgroup, and in the title directly just the amount, what you want, just with a description to say, yeah, this is for all the tasks, for example, this month or last week or as ever you want. And only this, and that's it already.
Yeah, that's fine. The reason why there's lots of tasks here because originally we were going to integrate in with GitHub, but exactly. I think there's no. What I need to do is delete all these tasks, issues, or what you call them in DWork, Tivo, and I'll do what Felix just told me to. So what I'll do.
So actually you formulate your invoices and it's totally up to you to say what should be in there. Just make sure, for example, each time you just add the link to the GitHub or the GitBook, for example, just as a reference that you know, oh, okay, their work is happening there. So when we come to our that we know in the task itself, we can move back to the task and see, okay, because you don't want to work with the DWork task. So just add a link to your GitHub repo, for example, or to the GitBook.
Is that every month or you want it? So
it's up to you. You can do this on a weekly base. You can do it on a monthly base. I would recommend you first go with a weekly base. Just say, okay, but really totally up to you. I would just recommend to go with a weekly base because you know how markets are and shit and everything.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll put this to the other group. Andre and Vanessa. I can't see who is here, but what do the other members of the archive work group? Do we want to invoice weekly, 2 weekly?
I mean, I think if Felix, if you're saying that you think it's better to go weekly for now, then we could. But it does occur to me that we have fortnightly meetings, so maybe invoicing would make sense fortnightly. The other question I have is how itemized does it have to be?
What we can do, if it's okay with Felix and Tivo, is just to provide a link to our board, our project board. Is that sufficient?
Exactly, definitely, largely sufficient.
Okay, that's good.
And actually, just one important thing, if you do it monthly or weekly or bi-weekly, just make sure it's done on a Monday, because each Tuesday we go in Treasury Guild call and build a transaction. So when it's done until Monday, everything is fine. Weekly, monthly, totally up to you.
I'll include a link to our project board, and I can add a link to, and I can add a link to our spreadsheet as well.
When you share a link to the project board, can we export it as CSV or some format? Or that would be an admin access?
I could set that up. I mean, it is possible, Andre. It is possible to export a list of issues as CSV, isn't it, Andre?
I remember something like that. Yeah. They always,
Yeah. We need to, if you want us to do that, we can do that, but it's we're gonna have to go away and do it. So I'll put that as a task. I'll do that actually.
But it will be only necessary if the titles, if all the tasks have like some kind of budget related, else they will be empty tasks. Like the only reason would be to have like a vision of how all the elements, how the project is like kind of created, and we have the task labels from your team too, and that kind of adds to the.
Well, we could do it as an experiment. Could be quite interesting because I might pick your brains, Andre, but I probably can do that myself. I'm just
maybe we can talk about this on Monday a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's do that.
Or we invite Stefan to the record.
I don't want to take over your meeting, definitely. So we can do. Let's put that as a note. Okay, so we're going to, just to recap, we're going to go to the DWork archive work group and add bi-weekly invoices on Mondays to link to our, include a link to our project board issues and our budget spreadsheet. And we'll work on an export of list of issues to CSV. Every issue is budget sensitive. You see on the right hand side here, Tilo, we have archive work group category and an ambassador category, which then relates back to the budget apportionment for this quarter. So we can export all this. It is possible to export all these issues and any data associated with them. But we just
so then they are equally rewarded basically to match the monthly budget.
Well, that's another conversation. So we need to work out the secondary part of the conversation is to say, okay, how do we want to tag things according to the budget allocation? So because that keeps changing. From my perspective, it keeps changing. So I'm pretty confused. I know we talked about, I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but we talked about upping the budget allocation for the archive work group from 2% maybe to 3 or 4% or something. That's what Tommy was talking about, because of the ambassador portion has now gone down. But I'm still not clear about what the decision is on that. But should we just leave it at that for the moment, then move on?
I think we should minute that we need to talk about that in the next meeting, because it will be a new quarter by then. So we just need clarity on what the archive work group is actually getting. The other thing that occurs to me is it would make so much sense to invoice quarterly. I know we probably can't do that, but
that's what we try to do. And
well, you actually could. To simply do it.
Oh, really?
Because there's nothing what prevents it. You simply do it and you say, okay, you do this as a first test. Simply, you add it on the budget. You just put it on a DWork task. We say, PA, we need this amount of funds. We simply do it and we see what happens. We just need to document it.
I mean, does everybody agree that that would make more sense? Because it just feels like, we've got a chunk of budget for the quarter and we haven't really thought about where it goes each week or each fortnight. It's more about this is the chunk for the quarter and this is the work for the quarter. Am I wrong?
It is dangerous in a sense that others will then also see like, okay, why wouldn't I? And like having some sense of how much tasks costs and bounties cost, and kind of getting this granular level is more cleaner data for the AI to kind of feed into and like make reason about.
The irony there, Tivo, is our records are far more detailed than anything on D-Work.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah, but the idea is to but what we want to do is create the metadata to be also different.
I think
like high level.
Oh, Tivo, to be honest, I think why other groups might not be able to do it because they have much less structure as Archival Workgroup has. Archival Workgroup is literally, from my perspective, is pretty much QA'd out, right? They have a very strong focus on really what they do, how they do all this stuff. It's the only group which has been capable so far to put forward a proposal. It's the only group which have put forward so far perfect audits right on all their work. So there is a lot of stuff where I would say, okay, we can consider this as parameters simply. We accept the parameters which have been established by the Archival Workgroup in order to do such a request. We do not set them, we just recognize what had happened so far. They have their calls, they have their Discord, they have their GitBook, they have put a proposal in place, they know quite well what they need and for which time they need. And expecting each workgroup, each guild coming into this position, maybe in 6 to 12 months from now, but not yet. And I think that's from my side why I would legitimize that actually Archival Workgroup has a little bit the right to do this. Because it is simply far ahead of everything else.
Going on to like the next quarter, it feels to me like if we were going to invoice quarterly, what we need to do is rough out a work plan for what we plan to complete in that quarter. And then at the end of the quarter, we add the evidence that we've completed it and put in an invoice.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. I'm sorry, I you must know, Tivo, I've been trying to do this at various meetings and referring back to the spreadsheet. I produced a spreadsheet which just linked back to the basic breakdown of what I thought the cost would be, and then linked back to the project board, and then here, and then what happened was you just kept changing the budget allocation. So, which is really, from my perspective, I know it's not, you know, this is an experiment and everything, it was a real mindfuck. You know, so I'm still not completely clear what the allocation is for the next quarter.
Yeah,
I mean,
where do we find that out?
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's
actually,
I'm not only not clear about it, I don't know where to find out.
Yeah.
No, there is no decision. This is discussed and decided as we speak. There's a process, right? There is no end date where you can say, okay, now we made this decision. We are in this process.
Okay.
Since the last budget allocation, when we did the first test, right? From right now, the only perspective which changes is there aren't really allocations.
Okay, I don't want to.
You just tap into one massive pool.
Sorry, Felix, I don't want this meeting to be taken over with discussion of this. So what I'll do is I'll accept Vanessa's action items that we'll rough out a work plan and set a budget, and then we'll do the other stuff that that you suggested about the setting up the D-Work, Felix, and then we can return to the conversation about Tivo's concerns about setting a precedent, because I do think we need to answer them. So Tivo, you need to be satisfied that this is all okay. Maybe we can set a requirement, like, for example, the reason why this is happening with the archive work group is because we have an audit trail system in place. So that you could say that's a requirement. So unless you have an audit trail system in place, like D-Work or GitHub, you can't do this. But I have to move on, because otherwise we're going to be a bit time sensitive. But
could I just raise one thing on this issue before we move on for discussion next time? It's just that in conversations with Sucren about onboarding and other conversations we've had, we've thought it might be quite good to be able to offer like little bounties for people who come to the sessions and actually maybe learn how to do archiving and then start archiving the meetings, because we don't necessarily want the leads on this group to end up doing that for eternity. So I just want to know, you know, for the next quarter, which actually starts before our next meeting, I really would like to discuss how we might set up bounties like that and how we integrate it, because we don't know what the next quarter's budget even is, and it just feels a bit confusing. So I'd really like to put that on the agenda for next meeting if we can.
I'll put a note there and we can come back to it for the next meeting. Okay. And okay, great. Let's thank you everyone. That was a very useful conversation. So if we can move on to archival workflow design. This is Vanessa.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to people and watching how people do things, and as I'm uploading things, I'm adding stuff. Can you scroll down a little bit, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm down to, I've scrolled down.
Oh, right. Well, in that case, that's weird because I've added notes that are not showing. Let me just see if I can still see them.
Yeah. Were you signed in and everything?
Yeah. Yeah, notes from the meeting on the 7th of June. I can see them. Can you not?
Yeah, yeah, they're on the screen now.
Well, no, there's a load. Are you sure that that's all you can see? Because if I scroll down further, I can see a lot more. Do you want me to just share screen?
Yeah, go on.
All right, let me just do that. Okay, so this is what I've got. I don't know why you haven't.
You scroll up.
Just a sec. Trying to get rid of. There we go. Yeah. So we've got, that's the top. And then we've got all these notes. So you're looking at the bottom. And I want to look at.
Yeah, that's what you asked me to just scroll to the bottom. So that wasn't the bottom. So I'll just go back to
if you want. Yeah.
Okay, so you want that.
By the way, Stephen, when you scroll a lot in the screen share, we get like a 3-second delay. So that also.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, I've been talking to people, watching how people do things, and I'm adding a few things into the archival workflow design. And I'm just wondering if, I don't want to go through it in detail, but later on in this meeting, we're going to look at the first item about the need to add a link back to the issue on the GitHub board. The rest of it is more or less as was. But I wanted to talk about point 4 just really briefly. We've said that possibly once something is in the archive team are going to look at developing a taxonomy and tag posts appropriately, which could form the start of a finding aid. And as a kind of community archiving person, my habit with this is to develop a taxonomy with the community and to look at their input and refine it. So I'm wondering if people think that would be a useful process and an interesting process to work on, or should we just do it ourselves? The other thing I wanted to ask is on point 8, at the end of each week, I'm thinking the workflow should involve a member of the core archives workgroup team listing in the relevant GitHub issue what has been archived for that week and anything that's outstanding that should be chased before the issue is moved to done. And it's just who should do that chasing. Like if a meeting we know happened and there's nothing been given, whose responsibility is it to chase? So yeah, can we take the first one first? What do people think about tagging in GitBook and community involvement with that?
How would we go about doing that initially?
I mean, I don't think you need to necessarily worry. I mean, that kind of community engagement is something that I do all the time. And so the hows are not that important. What I'm interested in is whether people think it's a useful idea and it would engage people, and whether it could be useful for the LLM work that Andre, that you're thinking of doing as a starting point for finding aids.
Yes, yeah, yes, please. I think that those tags will help a lot, definitely.
I mean, in the end, it's going to involve getting people engaged to look at what kind of material we're getting and trying to refine a set of tags. So yeah, all right. Well, it's not something that I think we're going to start on this month, but it's there as something to think about as part of the archival workflow design. How about the second one, point 8? Has anybody got any input on how we wrap up each week?
Does that need to be a wrap up?
Sorry, say again.
You do meeting summary, so isn't that the wrap up?
No, I'm talking about when we finish each week on the GitBook, we need to check that we've got everything we should have, that we have added everything that people have added to the meeting summaries. We need to chase any that should be there and are not there before we can sort of consider it done.
Shouldn't that be the responsibility of members of our team, or do we want to?
Yeah, exactly. But we need to know how we're going to do it and who is going to do it. Is it the person who has been archiving that week, which might be more than one of us? Or are we going to designate one person who is responsible for tying up loose ends and wrapping up any missing things? What's the workflow?
Just one person. Then he creates a system that is consistent to annoy people.
It's not really about the archiving system, Tiva, because what people archive, what people send us is going to vary from meeting to meeting. This is just about us looking and going, okay, is this week complete or not?
So you think one person, Tiva?
Yep. Because it's technically all you have to do there is check and ping, and it probably is like a minute less activity, and sometimes more depending on the size of the week. But if you make it more people do it, then it's like not consistent, and you put more brain effort to kind of remind yourself how it was done. But if you one person do it consistently, after 4 weeks he's fed up of trying to pursue people, but has like a system to just copy paste and pinging and finding the right channel. And he also or she also will learn which is the best method to catch that person who constantly keeps missing stuff.
I suggest a process something like the nominated person would go to the Discord channel for the work group where the meeting's missing, and post in a chaser in there.
Honestly, I think a DM to the person responsible is probably better, but I think whoever does it, as Tiva says, will work out the best way to do it. I mean, I think my other question is how long? Let's say if we know a meeting happened and we've chased and they still haven't given it us, at what point do we say, well, it's not coming and we're going to close that week?
I would say another week, maybe 2 weeks at most.
Yeah.
1 week, yeah.
Yeah, because go on, Tiva.
I think, because of memory, like the more it passes, the less relevant the memory of the meeting is.
So 1 more week. So if it's not done that week, you give it another week, and that's it. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, I'll update the flow to include that. And it's an evolving thing, and I hope by, in the next couple of weeks we'll have a final workflow process. But yeah.
Maybe you can add a caveat when the lead themselves gives a specific date when he will do that, and sometimes it is like 2 weeks.
Yeah, good point.
For example, last week, all of this work and conference, and now trying to catch up, I would have given like, okay, I need 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
The only other thing I would say is if there's nothing, you just make a note that you have nothing. Yeah.
Oh, it's already in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
All right, cool. That's about it then. Move on.
Cool. Okay. I just took some
Thanks,
notes.
everyone.
I might add some more notes. Okay. I tidied up the issues for the actual work on the GitBook. So there's actually one issue now for all the entire backlog and one issue just for the current work. So the current work, I suppose it's over to you again, Vanessa. This is the current work.
Right. Yeah, there's not really an awful lot to add other than it's just going on and doing it.
Good. Okay.
I don't think there's anything to say, to be honest.
Yeah. The only thing I did add here was, because I didn't know where else to put it, was I put some information about Rojo's.
Yeah,
use of
I
the
was a bit
Sun platform.
confused what they were doing there.
I couldn't think of where else to put them. That's all. So I didn't want to create a separate issue because it's not really substantive work. The reason why it's in here because we discussed it in June.
Yeah.
But I think now Rojo's thinking of using the Clarity platform.
He is, yeah, but I just wondered what, I mean, are those, I haven't checked, sorry, but are those screenshots in the summary of that meeting where they happened or not? Okay,
no.
so I need to add them basically.
Yeah, so we should put that as I'll put that as a checkbox underneath here.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, I'll do that now. So Vanessa to add to video workgroup record.
I love the fact that the video work group is one of the few that doesn't video their meetings. I think that's genius.
Yes, the cutting plan.
I think they know better than we do how.
Oh yeah. And
it's that don't they have meetings?
Yeah. You might need to ask Rojo which meeting it was. I can't remember. It might not have been the last one.
It's all right. I remember which one it was.
Okay, so there's a tick box on that now. We can move on because we discussed a lot of the archive GitBook.
Your workgroup meetings happen on Fridays, so they do have meetings, but they skip last one, I think.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is the LLMs for to create archival finding aids again, Vanessa.
I've got far too much to say in this meeting. Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of something that's on the back burner, really. Maybe we should make an action item to have a chat about it, Andre, or something. What do you think?
Yeah, we can.
No, because it's kind of sitting here as an issue, but we haven't really got any idea of how we're going to progress it.
Yeah. I have started. I've made a repo already, and it is one of the issues coming up.
That's a separate thing, though, isn't it? That's not the. Yeah.
I mean, they're related.
They're related, yeah. So you're going to have asynchronous conversations about this?
Yeah, maybe we must connect again. Maybe I don't know how the rest of your week looks, Vanessa.
I mean, Friday's not too bad. Maybe we could like have a little brainstorm, because I think what it is that I've got the archival input and you've got the kind of LLM input, and maybe we need to brainstorm a bit to see imaginatively what we could do, and then we can come back to the next meeting with like, oh, here's loads of exciting things we haven't got time or money to do, and everyone can go, oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's good. Friday is good.
Okay,
just on the note of the LLM, you are aware that with Swarm we had a funded proposal to develop an LLM, and we did with Mesh AI. It's
No,
fully
I
done,
wasn't
actually.
aware. Okay.
We have a full running own build LLM, which we use for as interface. We use Discord, but it's our own standing LLM, which we developed actually last 2 months.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. I think another action item. I think we wanted to talk to you about that. So
Yeah.
So but yeah, we should keep a conversation open, Felix, about that.
Is there a link anywhere to that proposal or anything, Felix?
Yeah, on deep funding. I can send it over.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'll have a look.
If you put it in chat, I can put it into this issue.
Yep. We'll send the link in a second.
Yeah, good, great. Okay. I just left that as a to-do item, then Vanessa and Andre.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'll move on, and I'll put Buddhist's link in when he's done that. Okay. The next one is it's Vanessa again.
Oh, bloody hell.
You're doing all the work.
What
Vanessa.
is it this time?
What is it this time?
Oh, yeah. All right, guidance notes for meeting facilitators. Yeah, I haven't got a draft yet. I'm still kind of talking to people and working out how it should be, but I've got a couple of questions which I could pick people's brains about. Some people list who is present at a meeting and some people don't. From a record keeping perspective, how much do we care about that? Does it matter to have a record of who was at a meeting or not?
I mean, so far,
I think yes.
it's been important.
Not never needed it right away, except just for documenting. But I think over the time when we do retrospectives of 1 year ago and kind of summarize it, it would be, I think, beautiful to see these kind of graphs where attention by a person is spent and kind of correlated with the work groups and the ideas that are sprouting there. So like
Quite agree on.
Okay.
Sorry, Kim.
Okay, so
yeah, so that's a yes then, and I think I will, yeah, add that to as guidance. It's not going to be there are not going to be any strict laws, but that will be added as something. The other thing that some people do and other people don't is pulling out action items separately. I mean, Tivo, you do this a lot. You're really good at that. I feel like this is really helpful and important, and I'm thinking of making it, you know, a really strong recommendation that you write your little summary and then you pull out what you're going to do. And I don't know how some work group leads don't do it. I don't know how they feel about it, but I think it would probably help a bit with tracking if you could look back, and it would maybe make the archive something that is more used. If you can look back at your meeting summary and go, okay, we said we'd do this, this, and this. How are we doing? What do people think? Can anybody think of reasons why it might not be something that somebody wants to do for their work group?
The only thing I can think of is that some people have more informal meetings, like the AI sandbox.
Yeah. Okay.
I think some meetings are more project-based, and in a sense that they have like translator work group. They do translations when they come in. So when we meet, it's never really about action items, but more of sharing the current state and just, hey, should we, how should we continue, or like how everybody's feeling, and so far the only meetings I've been doing in translator work group are onboarding, or answering questions basically from who's who, which is also basically onboarding. So yeah.
Okay. So I think there's going to be a couple of exceptions maybe, but I think it'd be something that would be a recommendation for most.
Okay, I've added those notes, Vanessa, if you want to read. Yeah, and update that, and if that's okay, I'll move on to the next
Yep.
item. Okay, this is Colab Development, and this is really simple because I haven't done anything on this. So I should just say I haven't done anything on this and move on. But what I was going to need to do is set up and document a LangChain connection with the GitBook, and I just simply haven't had time. So I'll have to push that for another 2 weeks. Training, this is weird that this is a separate issue. I'm not quite sure why this is a separate issue. Oh yeah, this is just to experiment with the lens, the GitBook lens LLM. Have we done any work on this at all?
I haven't looked at that yet. Eh?
No, nor have I. Vanessa, have you done anything on that?
What's the
Sorry,
difference between?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay, sorry.
All it is
But I mean, the difference between LLMs to create archival finding aids and this training GitBook Lens LLM, are they then different LLMs? Task 8 that that's the.
Yeah, I might merge them in actually, because what do you think, Vanessa?
I mean, I think the point is we separated them out because they are different. So
They are different because one LLM is, well, the other LLMs are all other LLMs, like LLMs which are coming through other libraries directly, whereas the Lens LLM is just GitBook's one. So it's just using I'll give an example. It's got Lens in it.
But isn't that the training when you already put data into the GitHub? Isn't that automatically using that information?
No. If I can show here, look. So what we're talking about for this new issue is if you can see on my screen, I click on that, there's the lens there. Is that Felix talking? But so, whereas this lens is GitBook's own lens, own LLM, yeah. Whereas the other LLMs are not GitBook, in other words, so using LLMs which have a direct link, say, to OpenAI or LangChain. And what we were doing is just training using the GitBook lens, which we haven't done any work on recently. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Take that as a no.
Yeah, I still didn't get it. How do you train it then?
Yeah.
Do you have like a button, or do you need to use some command lines to train it?
All you do is literally you try it out from here with questions. That's all that we're doing. So, for example,
okay. If you ask questions, it automatically kind of trains it.
Well, it's just to see. It's like a trial and error thing. So it's just one. So here, what is the governance framework, for example? It's probably going to. Sometimes it takes a while. It's just to see how it's responding to the content. And this is the ambassador's GitBook, for example. Yeah. So
okay. And then you like it or dislike it, and that's what you call training.
We haven't been doing that. We'd also, well, you could do that, but we've just been keeping a record. So far, I've just been keeping a record of the responses. But we could like it and dislike it as well, Tivo. Yeah, that's another thing we could do maybe. And also we could look at down here about what sources have been used. Yeah. So it's more to see, to assess the GitBook Lens LLM in action, and not involving any code or any development at all. Yeah. But we haven't done anything.
Maybe Stephen.
Yeah, go on.
On this, maybe we can go with an action item, organizing a call with Jingles. He's the lead developer at Mesh.js, and he has 15 years of experience in LLM development and full stack. And he was the guy also who coded the deep funding LLM proposal. And he did this in 2 weeks, actually, building everything from scratch. So he knows quite well and could help a lot on your side.
So could you paste his name and that into chat? My audio is a bit bad for that. So
Yeah, sure.
yeah. Should we do that under this item or the next item, the tool development item, do you think? Okay, I'll move on to the next item.
Both, oh, not both, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
I would say
exactly.
I would say training the GitBook Lens LLM is a part of the tool development, right?
No, not really. No.
No, I'd say not.
It's not. No. I think there's some confusion about what's it is just training the lens GitBook, the GitBook lens, Felix. That's all it is. It's not development. But,
I would also like to meet with that
Yeah.
guy.
but it'd be
Thank
best.
you.
Yeah. So if I move on
Yeah.
to this, to your item, Andre, the tool development item. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
I mean, as you say, it might be more better to meet. What's
With
the guy's name? Mesh. Sorry, can you post
Jingles. What's I
the jingle? Did you say?
think it's Jingles.
I put it in the live chat. It's Jingles. And I'm in contact with him. I help him building up Mesh. So
Yeah. Arrange meeting with jingles at Mesh AI, and I'll put that down for Felix and Andre. Yeah.
Okay.
To discuss possible development, possible future development.
Technically, it's already written from the last meeting.
Yeah, but it wasn't done, so it's still. I'm just putting it down as a note to say that we still, need to do it.
Right.
So yeah. So,
For this issue, and I already created the repo last week, and
yeah.
I installed LangChain and Hugging Face,
Yeah.
and then I did one API call with one of the Hugging Face models just to see how it works. So
Since then, you have done an API call, yeah.
yes, I installed both those libraries and did one API call. So I will look into LangChain. Has got some documentation about how to set up a vector database. So I'll start reading into that. I think from now on, I'm just gonna read a bunch of LangChain documentation and then start looking at different AI options, libraries that are out there that I can use with LangChain.
Yeah. And that would be really helpful if we can meet with Jingles and Felix as well. So
Yes.
yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say on that, Andre?
I think that's it. That's it for now. Yeah.
Okay, I've updated this so that we have a record of what we just discussed here to refer back to for this week. Yeah.
Yeah. I did every week when I make updates to the code, it is at the top of this issue, I think.
Good. Okay. That's right. The issue.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So what Andre's doing here is, for some items, so that lots of issues don't clog up this project board. What we do is we reference issues in other repositories, and that's what Andre's been doing here. I'm also doing that for the ambassadors GitBook as well. It's so that we can keep track in a project issue, development issues, just for information. Are there any other questions or comments about this? No. Okay. I'll move on to the next issue. I'll update the due dates to next 2 weeks, by the way, as well.
Actually, one quick question, Stephen.
Yeah.
As we speak about SinguarityNet, do you plan to move somewhere a certain structure of the LLM via the GitBook lands there on SinguarityNet marketplace?
The marketplace, I don't quite know what you mean. Sorry, Felix.
But that's actually the whole idea of SinguarityNet, right? To have a AI marketplace where AI services and builders actually build via AGIX token. For example, AGIX token can be related to API calls or to the use of something like this.
As a long-term aim, you mean?
Exactly. So integrated into the marketplace actually somehow.
I suppose, yeah, it's just something to note, Andre, yeah?
Yeah, no, I think it's actually important to maybe keep that in mind when we start building this.
Okay, I'll put that as a note here. Yeah, you're right, that's strategically important. I'll put 2 notes, and then this so it's not lost. Thanks for that, Felix. Okay. This is all a work in progress, so it can seem quite slow at first, but we are working on this. And I'll move to the next item, which is governance GitBook, which is Vanessa and Felix mostly working on this.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things to raise on it. Let me just a sec.
Yeah.
And find what I had. Yeah, if you go down to the bottom, the notes from the 7th of June.
Yeah.
We said then that we'd close the current version to comments for archiving, and I don't think we have. Would it be possible to do that now, or is there a reason to still keep it open?
No, good that you reminded. I do it right away.
Okay, nice one. All right. And I've been looking into the best way to output with comments, and I'm sorry I haven't really had time to fix that yet, but I do think there is going to be a way of doing it. So I promise that for next meeting, I'll have that done. The next thing is that with the review stage, originally we were going to pull the comments together and cluster them, which I did to some extent. And then there was this theory about having each comment as a separate debug task, which someone will manage. And I think in a governance workgroup meeting, the one before last, we realized that wasn't really working. So we had this idea of creating a meeting where each breakout room would be one of the key tasks. Obviously, there are like 11 clusters, so it's not going to be all of them. But in the original document, I have picked out what I think are the top 5. And I think it's maybe like over to governance workgroup now to kind of develop that meeting, because I think in the governance workgroup meeting, there was Felix, you, me, Slate, and somebody else who said that they would jump on and try and do that. Are we still into doing that, or do we just think the community is too knackered and too busy to do it? What do you reckon? Because my feeling is that we do need to progress the document in some way that uses the comments because people bothered to make them.
Much agreed, should move forward, though I don't think that we need to expect a lot of massive engagement, but just with governance workgroup moving it forward. And maybe using some sort of constants, for example, or simply the document like we said last time. Share the document, just have a sort of like Timo mentioned, use the term as sentiment analysis.
Sorry, you're really breaking up. I couldn't hear properly. It's probably my end. Can you say that again?
Ah, I think it's me, shitty connection.
Felix mentioned something about sentiment analysis for the document, but
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure what you mean by like showing entire document and letting people to vote. Is like, this is perfect, this is not so perfect, like having like a scoring.
No,
or,
we really
or
want
like
to keep it away from voting, don't we? I mean, we've got people's comments, and the idea was that we were going to, in some way, progress those and discuss those and work with them.
I mean, as I recall,
how many comments there are, we can also, okay, then it goes back to voting, but then you can do a sentiment, which questions are most relevant, or like
No,
what
because
needs
it's
to be
not.
done.
No, it's not about which ones are most relevant. I think we already know because they're the ones that more people have engaged with and that seem to have more dispute or commentary. I think we need to move past this voting and sentiment analysis thing now and say, all right, we've got some of them, and we can always come back and do the rest of them at another time, but we need to work out what the answers are to the questions that people have raised, rather than constantly analysing what's important. We'll cover all of them at some point. I think we've just got to pick 5 that are quite meaty and work on them.
sorry, Felix.
No, go for it, Stephen.
No, I was just recalling that there was, I can't remember which meeting it was, but I think it was a governance work group meeting where we, as you say, Vanessa, we discussed that the next step would be to have a kind of like a special meeting where people would come along and we'd have different breakout rooms. Is that right? Yeah.
That was where we were at. I don't know if we still want to go ahead with that.
Yeah, go on. And then each breakout room would address a comment, what we would call a comment cluster. For the sake of clarity, I think a comment cluster just means we were going to select the top 5 or something of what most people were concerned with. Is that right? Yeah.
I mean, I've just put in the chat now the doc where I originally started clustering, and at the bottom I've picked out what I think the meatiest 5 that we could do something with in a meeting. And it's not saying that we won't discuss the other comments, it's just a suggestion for what could be the starting point. And if it doesn't, it's like if it doesn't work as a process, if people don't come to the meeting, or if we sit down in the meeting in a breakout room and people are like, well, I don't know where to start discussing this, then we know, don't we?
Vanessa, what do you think just getting together on this in a separate call, just figuring out, oh, okay, what would make sense, how to go about it in a small group, and then just saying, okay, we do this, and then we simply go with it.
Yeah.
Right now we have
I think
several
that's-
options.
Yeah,
I think it would make sense if just 2-3 people come together, say, oh, okay, how to move forward on this, and then moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a ref because there is a kind governance GitBook from the archive perspective should really just be the work, the practical work, not so much a discussion about. So yeah, so it should be more. Do you think that should be part of a governance guild work group meeting, Felix, or a special meeting?
I think this can be a separate thing.
Okay.
I want to reach out to you on this one.
Cool, let's do that.
Okay, settled meeting to discuss further. And I'll put Felix and myself.
Oh.
You gone?
No, I was just saying that's good.
Yes, and okay. So that we have what that as an action item. Okay, that is it. So thank you.
Woohoo!
Thanks everyone for getting us through those action items. I think it's a bit longer than usual, and so
Only a bit.
Only a bit, so not up to my usual performance. So, but yeah, thank you for that, and I'll stop sharing and pass it over to Vanessa.
No, I'm honestly going to suggest that we wrap the meeting up because we're all busy and there's nobody here who doesn't already know how to do the things that I was going to run through today practically.
Okay.
What do people think? I mean, if anybody thinks they do want to, then we can, but I don't think it's needed.
Okay, just as
And
a
I need to
remark,
upload the town hall video and make a summary, so I can take that extra time.
Okay. That's great. I mean, what I was going to do in this practical session is create a new week. So I haven't done that yet. So I can go and do it now. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, should we run through it just in case? Because there is this issue of link backs to the GitHub issues.
let me try.
I think, wouldn't it be better if there was someone, or are you recording this?
Oh, that's the point. Yeah.
No, we are recording this, yeah. But yeah, I just screen shared what we were going to do, which is the practical session, which is I mean, how do people feel, or Vanessa, how do you feel?
I mean, if people want to hop off, we could do it anyway for the recording, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. Yeah.
Okay.
If there was someone here, like someone new, then it would have made sense to do it, But if people want to hop off, I'm sure that's fine.
Right, let's be efficient. I will then do the first move. Thanks for the meeting.
Thank you, Tiva.
Ciao.
So do you want to do that on your screen?
No, I've got some problems. I don't think I'm going to be able to screen share very well. So I think, would you be able to?
Okay, so what do you want me to do?
Okay, if you can, let me just have a look. If you can open the GitBook to the top of week 24. Well, actually, first of all, open it to the top of week 23 first.
Yeah.
And you can see that we've got this little link back to the archive GitBook and the issue on GitHub at the very top. Now, if you go to week 24, we haven't got that. So we need to add it.
Okay, to do that, you need to go to the archive GitBook, the issue for that month.
Yeah.
And what I've been doing is what week number? It's week 24. So there isn't. You create a comment for week 24. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the quickest way to do that is to copy a previous comment, I suppose. So if I edit the previous comment here, and then copy. My mouse is playing up. Copy the markdown from that, and then copy it down to a new comment, and then change that to week 24 with the date.
And then we've got to change all the dates.
Well,
which is quite laborious, but it's the only way to do it.
But
right?
Is Andre still here? Because there might be a way to automate that at some point.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of work. But I have to give it some thought. But yeah, and then it's quite laborious because you'd have to go like that, and then the 13, and then the 14, and then the 15. I mean, we can decide to not do this, I suppose. But
I mean, I think maybe we should keep doing it for a little longer and just see how useful it is and whether it works before we jettison it.
Okay, so I've done that, and then so I've updated that, and if I look, that's actually the link is to B23. So change that to wrong GitBook. Well, I suppose this is for educational purposes, so it should be. So I'll copy
Yeah.
the link here, and I need to get the week number, link from the live GitBook. Just wait for that to open. Yeah, week 24.
Sorry, you need to get the week number.
What
What?
I'm doing here is getting the live link to the complete.
Okay,
completed
I see.
GitBook, yeah.
I'm with you.
To put as a reference in the comment, yeah. So that's now
Yeah.
week 24. I could have just changed the end to week 24, but there you go.
Well, you could, but you know.
Yeah, but I didn't. But there you go. So now we have a nice shiny new comment, and I've actually collapsed it. This is something I did. I added these details. This is from the previous week, so you need to unclick things that are not correct. And there you have a nice blank record. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, then you just copy this link. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what you're going to paste in here.
Right.
You go to edit as usual, and you just paste it right at the top. The paragraph. There you go.
Oh, and it converts it to that shiny little link without you having to do anything.
It does, yeah.
Lovely. Okay.
I'll just take this as well, because for best practice, there's some subtitle there as well. So,
Great.
And then merge it all in, and there you have. So each week would have the week number, the date it ranges under, then a link back to the issue. So
Lovely.
Then, okay, then.
So then it's just a matter of ticking what is archived in that issue, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, is that enough for that one? Okay, so that's that one.
Yeah, that covers that.
So the next one in the practical session, for viewers at home, is to create a new week. Yeah. Week 25. Okay. And to do that, do you want me to do that?
So in the end, I think I think so. I mean, I think it's just a matter of showing how you create a new page. And then what I've been doing is just, obviously, the week number, week 25, is a top level heading. And then each day is a level 2 heading. So,
okay, yeah. So what exactly? So I'll just follow Vanessa's instructions. From here, I'll go to the edit button. You need to go to the edit button first. Then on this side, you have a little plus sign here underneath the months, and you just click on there, and that'll add a new subpage. And you need to change the title to the week number, week 25. Here would be the range. What I'll put in a moment, the range of dates.
So it's the 19th to the 25th.
That was a nice handy. Then here would be a placeholder for the link back issue. I'll just leave it as that, something like that. Then you would have the week. So you would start with Monday. I think that's the right way. And you type it out in full. And the reason we're typing this out in full like this is so it's searchable by an AI. And then we put that as a heading 1. And then underneath there, it's going to let me do it.
I think to create a week, I would just put the days in, and then when you've got something to add, you add it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just wanted to give an example of
Okay.
a placeholder example. So I just think that back. Okay. I will put the other days of the week in. Hold on a second. Okay. It's just a bit slow. GitBook's being GitBook.
It'll do that.
It's playing buggers with me. Not letting me add anything underneath that for some reason. Oh, there we go. Okay, that would be like so. Work group.
Oh, blimey.
The work group would be under. I won't put the work group meeting would be under here.
Mhm.
So, and that would have a second level heading, and then you would have the details of that. So then going under here, you continue on with the weekdays. Again, there might be a way we can template this, maybe.
Yeah, we could, couldn't we?
I have to think about that. Probably is a way to do that. Did you think of a way, Andre, if you're still here? Not sure.
I mean, could you link
Yeah.
it to a calendar so that it filled it in automatically for you? Or
you might be able to, a quick way might be able to do it at the back end repository.
Yeah.
And then just cut and paste it.
Yeah, there is a way, but it's not going to be a quick.
I know a quick way. I know a quick way. You just ask ChatGPT to do it for you. No, really, because all you
Oh,
do
you
is
mean
just ask it to create this format, and
is
then as a text file or text, plain text, then copy it and paste it into the backend markdown.
Oh, yeah.
That will do it. So I must make a note of that. Yeah. So I use ChatGPT to create a list of days, a list of weekdays, basically. Yeah. With that format. And then once that's done, we cut and paste it to the back end. So you don't have to type it in at the front end. It would have to be me. I can show you how to do it as well, Vanessa, maybe. Paste to GitHub, and that will just do it in a few seconds. So rather than do this, which is quite laborious, isn't it?
It is a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the basic format. So
Yep.
you have, GitHub. This is why sometimes GitBook is annoying.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. So you have a work group meeting, and I'll merge all that in.
All right.
Okay, is there anything else you want to cover on this?
No, I think that's everything.
Okay.
So we've got that on the recording, and if you're watching, it's quite easy, isn't it? So you can come and join us next time and do some.
You can have fun and games on our GitBook repository.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just
And I don't think we need to add any content. I think we kind of covered that last time, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So that has closed. Okay. Any issues emerging? Any final comments from people?
Are you putting in that idea you just had as a issue emerging?
Right. Where should we put that? That should be.
I would put it under like issues emerging in the practical session.
Yeah. I also made a written note of it, but yeah, do that so we don't forget. Yeah. And if that is it, I'll stop sharing. What? There's two Felixes.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
so I joined with mobile, and then I jumped on the PC to follow more the screen share.
I always suspected there were two Felixes.
Yeah, much more in my head. You can't even
Ah!
fucking a whole army, a whole army of them.
It's the only possible explanation for how you get so much done, Felix. There's 3 of you.
I'm just gonna stop the recording.